Psychotechnologies
Psychotechnologies.
live. Woo! It's good to be
Woo!
back. Oh my god. It's good to have a break, and also it's really good to be back.
Yeah, it's been such a long time. So many things have happened. The world is such a different place now.
Is it? Is the world a different place?
It feels different.
Yeah, okay.
I think the world's always different, right? It's like a stream.
Like a stream, it like just keeps changing, sort of thing.
Yeah. And like you don't really notice the changes unless you're, or it's like it's often hard to notice the changes unless you like leave and come back.
Mm. This is like the moral of the story is everyone should take a holiday.
Um, Holidays can give perspectives, I think.
Oh, everyone should like have a change of scenery, sort of thing. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be a holiday. You just need to like get away from it.
Yeah. Change of scenery, change of perspective, see the changes. It's like ceasing to be somewhere and existing out and then coming back into existence. You get to like you get a like you see what's more constant and what's important and what's less important.
Hmm.
I always imagine that's how cessation is, where you stop existing and then you exist again, and then or you stop experiencing and then you experience again, or at least you notice like the jump in experience, and then that kind of like gives you a different perspective on life.
I'm not sure how many people know of the idea of cessation. Do you want to like try and define
Oh
it?
yeah.
Like
Yeah, so
just like jump straight into some meditative technical term, like like it was nobody's business. So you're gonna now you have to like explain what do you mean by cessation?
yeah, I think about it a lot. So for me it's like always kind of top of, at least like where I'm at for the last little while, it's always been at top of mind. So cessation is like I guess like the ninth jhana, or it's like the ultimate meditation, where you stop experiencing, or you get like a gap in your experience. I don't know exactly what it is or exactly how to explain it, but it's something like that. And so it's like Sadhguru talks about his experience where he sat down to meditate for 20 minutes and then it was like 20 days later, and there was all these people around him and he didn't know what was going on. He's like, why are you all staring at me? They're like, you've been sitting there for 3 weeks, something like that. The details I don't have exactly correct, but I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. And so that's I don't know what it is. Kind of like death, kind of like an ultimate, like just peace, or like being a rock. Because we have all these different layers to ourselves, and like so, like now I think a lot of people are getting more in touch with their animal nature or their like psychosocial nature versus like the society thing that we do all the time. And so if you keep going backwards, you get to, well, actually, I'm also matter. Like I'm also like innate matter that doesn't move, in a way. And so being that for a while, and not having what we call normally referred to as memory, but still still time has passed and your body has changed,
Hmm.
and you kind of like almost like meditating on that, and that's like really slow, so it takes a long time to see anything.
Hmm. So Daniel Ingram, in his book Mastering the Core Teachings of the Buddha 2, has a chapter titled "What Was That?" Um, and that one's not actually about cessation, but a lot of meditation has this phenomena of like something happened, like I don't even know what that was. Um,
Yeah.
but people like Daniel talk about cessation as incredibly difficult to describe and only describable like by the gap it makes, rather than like you can't put words to what that thing is because there's no experience going on in that moment. Or Sadhguru had a couple weeks, but um, kind of
Yeah.
impressive. meditate so hard that you're just not having an experience.
Yeah. it's it's interesting because it's like very different, I think, than what we normally try to do, or what we normally, or like what I guess is common in pop culture of
You mean like the
meditation.
Western society, what the West tries to do,
Yeah,
or
yeah, like pop culture, I guess, is like, oh, you have to calm down, or like noticing. A lot of times it's really people are talking about like
like
mindfulness,
witness,
they talk about meditation.
like you need to witness everything. You actually need to stay and observe and be present, rather than
Yeah,
like somehow tap out.
yeah, yeah. Like cessation is kind of like the ultimate um escapism in a way. Where like you do have like, and I do feel that sometimes where if I'm like stuck on Reddit or YouTube or something where it's like that time sink that doesn't have any productivity, it's like I do notice like I am looking for to just stop existing for a while. And I think like that's the craving, like that's the thing that like that's the thing that would satisfy me, is
Hmm.
to have that experience of cessation. Sort of. I mean, like it's weird to talk about it because you're not actually experiencing it, or you are, or something. I don't know. But
Well, it's kind of
uh
like it's kind of death without the like painful dying thing. You just kind of do the cease to exist thing.
yeah.
The like, people sometimes say, I really like an instant death. I don't want like a slow gargling death. I want like a, oh, dead now. Because then I don't have to suffer in the process of dying. I'm just like not here. Didn't really, wasn't really bothered by it. Just not here anymore.
Yeah, I
That's
hear
kind
that.
of a cessation. Like I just went quick cut.
I mean, I think I would like to experience my death rather than like no, I would rather be alive, but if I have to die, um
Rather also like watch the winding down of the clocks.
yeah, like I mean, at least to get closure, right?
As in, like I got to
Like,
gradually watch my brain turn off bit by inch.
yeah, like okay, this is how it ends, and I'm the only one that gets to be there for that.
That's
And
that's an
do
interesting
anything.
idea because I imagine at some point in the future, we will be able to like take a body and cool it down to like still, like, and make like
Oh,
store that body, right? And we could do
yeah,
it for like a minute or an hour or a month or like 10 years, and like the same, right? And then we could like warm you back up and then we could test the like what is it like to kind of freeze and die, and then come back, and we could like scientifically we could just do this. You could do this 100 times this week. We could just, much as it might like drain your body a bit to it's like tiring to do stuff. You could just like let's do it and then back, do it and back, and like ask you like how is that, and like let's try again. Okay, how's that one?
yeah.
Like we could just do that. What do you think the philosophical implications will be that come out of our capacity to like take people through this procedure?
Oh, philosophical indications. I don't care
Well,
what,
like
but
as in
like,
like how will it change our thinking when we like
yeah, how will it change our the way we experience the world? That's interesting to me. I think there's something like that is such a good question, like because like there is, I do notice something that happens um when I'm, because I've been paying like so much attention to my experience as I go to sleep or do drugs or get really tired and like start to lose functionality. Like the way my mind, like the way my mind or my psyche breaks down now is like really, like I find it's like really efficient, right? Like it, I start to lose the functionalities, like especially when I'm tired. Like the way I lose functionality now is much more in a much more controlled way, which I think is like really helpful to the rest of my life, or when I get stressed or when I'm in situations where I start to lose capacity or awareness. It like like the way that shuts down is much less like damaging. You know what I mean? Like losing the less essential systems first.
As in, like, I'm driving down the road having micro sleeps, but like,
Yeah.
I've stopped feeling my toes long ago, or like, you know, the
Well,
music on the radio doesn't really matter anymore. I'm like keeping my visual field up.
yeah,
I'm like remembering where I need to go, and like keeping some sort
yeah,
of like vigilance thing. But don't go back to
yeah.
sleeping. It's
And
not
like
good.
keeping that awareness of like, am I safe to drive? Which is, I think, like the almost the most important thing when driving.
Mm,
It like at least in like regular life for me, like the most important thing when driving is, am I safe to drive or not?
mm.
And so that's like that meta competency, or that meta awareness of the meta competency is like the number one thing. And like being able to test it, like how are my reflexes, how are my sight, I'm paying attention, and do I need to pull over and deal with that or something.
So you've named another thing that I think most people don't have familiarity with, and that's meta awareness, because it's a meditative sort of skill. Usually, I mean, the book The Mind Illuminated talks about um, developing metacognitive introspective awareness, so that as you meditate, you can tell that you're meditating well or badly,
Yeah,
and you can modulate. Like if you're starting to fall asleep, you can like turn up the energy. If you're like trying too hard, you can relax a bit without disrupting your actual meditative process. I mean, the way I had this was I would be meditating and I'd have this like narrator being go like, "Oh no, we're falling asleep," and like it would actually come up as like an internal voice like that, and then I would be like, and then it would be like, "We're meditating really well. We're meditating really well." And I'm like, "Oh my god, I just wish this voice would shut the hell up so that I could
shut
do
the
the
fuck up,
meditate."
I'm doing something.
Right, I'm trying to meditate here, and there's this voice, but that's like early stage metacognitive is like self talk metacognitive, and later stages I could just do the like I just kind of know that I'm meditating well from a knowing sense without having to verbalize internal verbal, let myself know.
Yeah, yeah, like that's like a whole thing that's
That's a meditative journey thing,
different
right?
to
But
meditating, I think. Yeah,
metacognitive introspective awareness is what
yeah.
he called it, which meta awareness,
Metacognitive introspective awareness.
as in
Yeah,
metacognitive, as in you can observe your cognition, introspective, inwardly, awareness. You can know how aware you are, but only without having to do the conversation style, just to like, oh, I know if I'm falling asleep or if I'm awake or if I'm like distracted, without having, and then I can correct it in meditation without actually disrupting my meditation.
yeah. And then like also I think, and then like the next step or another step is to have that as part of meditation, so that you're not like, you need the like that part needs to be self-aware, or at least there needs to be awareness within the system. Otherwise
Right, that part
you're,
can't fall asleep, and that part also can't try too hard.
well, that, and that part can't talk too much, or like I think like for me, I know like often that part would be like, okay, we're doing blah blah blah, and I'm like, well, like let's look at you for a second and see what are you doing here? Like, are you doing the meditation also, or are you just like saying shit and deciding that you get to be in charge of stuff?
Yep, that's part of the meditative journey.
Yeah,
I had a lot of fun with my favorite time. We're just gonna go there. I was
yeah,
meditating once, and I was like dealing with my internal voice that was like talking to me or like narrating things, and I was like, "All right, internal voice, if you're so good at knowing what I'm gonna do next, what am I gonna do next?" And my very chubby, excited internal voice said like, "Oh, I just gotta go get up and do this thing and do this other thing," and I'm like lying there meditating. And like, we're gonna go get up and have lunch and do this, and I'm just lying there meditating, and I just continue to lie there, and I'm like, internal voice, you're not really the one in charge here.
yeah,
And then I'm like, let's do that again, and I'm like, hey, internal voice, what are we gonna do next? And it kind of was, again, we're gonna get up, we're gonna do this, and then again, like, I didn't do anything. I just kept lying there, and like something clicked for the me, or that internal voice me, and it kind of realized that it was not the one in charge, and like everything, like something snapped and changed, and like felt really weird. Those like one of
Mm,
those what the heck was that meditative moments. Um,
mm.
Fascinating.
One of those like crazy experiences where
Yeah,
you
I don't even know what happened next, but then like yeah, like something was different. But it
I love
like one of the cool things about meditation is there's a lot of learning, right? So I learned something in that moment, and then like, but I didn't just like learn a cool fact. I like learned something that changed my perception of everything, right? That me being that voice was wrong, and I learned I wasn't that voice, and like big thing changed.
yeah. Did the like what happened? Like, is the voice still like what's the relationship with the voice to the other parts or
Mm,
whatnot?
mm. Well, like today, or like since then, or
Just
like
the
shortly
same,
after. Since
yeah.
then, so let's go for where am I up to today? Um, I have an internal narrative voice, and it sort of comes up with suggestions from time to time. Like I'll be working with someone or talking with someone, and it'll be like, use this system or use this strategy, and that's the majority of the internal narrative voice that I get. Of course, there's a guy named Jeffrey Martin who I don't necessarily love how he works, but he really his focus became he coined the term fundamental well-being, proposed that a lot of religious systems try and encourage people to enter a state of fundamental well-being, like everything will kind of always be okay as a feeling. And he proposed that one of the big things that comes with a transition into a fundamental well-being space is a falling away of the narrative self, or like reduction in the amount of internal voice that one has. Because well, when you get really into like psyches, you start to notice like there's a good voice, there's like a kind voice, and then there's like a inner critic, like a critical voice, and there's a like self-referent voice, and then there's like a non-self-referent voice, like self-referent, like I'm gonna go do this now. Non-self-referent, like look at the trees look very pretty, right? The trees looking very pretty as a non-self-referent voice happens without the like in a different part of the mind than the self-referent voice, and starting to divide up the psyche and notice that it's coming from different places is a very powerful thing. Anyway, he proposes that the internal verbal is a big part of like what keeps people that what people are dealing with and then trying to get rid of down the meditative path to get to like a quiet mind and just just seeing reality without that like narrative-y thing.
Mhm. I think a lot of people are different things, but yeah, like that does seem to be a popular goal. So like, shut the fuck up. I need some peace and quiet.
Right. Well, I mean that's the difficult part. If you've never sat around, uh, have your internal voice sort of talk to you and tell you to do certain things, and then like wait until it like ran out, you might be living in a world where you always listen to your internal narrative.
Yeah.
Whether it's like, how dare that person say something like that to me, or like just anything that the internal voice says, you might be going to do. Like,
Whatever.
I want a sandwich, you're gonna go get a sandwich.
Yeah. And I think that that voice tends to be other people, not ourselves.
As in, the
So
voice speaks in the vocal tone of other people that we've met, like our parents or something.
I think it's been trained. Like I think
Right.
that like the way my relationship with that voice often is now is like that's the voice that I use often to engage with other people because people need people who if you know if I'm going to relate to people they very often want me to be saying things, and so I can't just have a nonverbal relationship with people, and so that voice, I mean, even now, right, like we're doing the YouTube, so there's like the voice that you're hearing is the voice that I'm speaking. It knows how to speak. I like the thing that's behind the voice, like the consciousness or that, like it doesn't know how to speak. It doesn't know how to verbalize. It doesn't know the rules of grammar or like all that stuff. So it relies on the voice that's being spoken, like even voices being spoken now. And so there does need to be that connection and that trust and that relationship there.
I don't know. I don't know. Well, like, there's a great question here of like, where did we get our internal narrative voice? And you can think of like the bicameral mind model of internal voice that and the other thing I was thinking was the agent arena relationship, right? So we've mentioned it briefly before. I'm gonna go on a rant about the agent arena relationship for a
Hmm.
moment. If you're the
Did you see
gladiator,
that?
huh?
Okay.
If you're the
I was
gladiator, right? You're in the arena. They've brought in a wild animal for you to fight. If the wild animal like runs over and like kills you, like it's not a very good, interesting fight. If you like go and immediately stab the wild animal, it's also not a very good, interesting fight. So they've done things like they've left swords lying around. You have to go run and get a sword, and they've give you some armor but not other armor, and you have to like kind of have an entertaining fight. And everyone who's watching the gladiator wants to watch the entertaining fight, right? They don't want to watch the fight end in a moment. They want to watch the entertaining fight. So it's kind of like, in order that we put on a show, we need to have like the journey making, and we need to have an experience, and we need to like go somewhere. In our own lives, we're kind of both the agent, like I'm the guy who goes to work, and also I can quit my job and get a different job. Like I can change the arena. I have like surprising control over the arena as well, that
I can clean my room.
I can
Yeah.
clean my room. I can actually like reorganize my environment. I can eat different food. I can do all sorts of things to change my arena, not just live in the arena. And a lot of people spend their lives only living in the arena, following some sort of go with the flow, not sure really how to change their arena. And some people are like really good arena changes, and then they're like, as long as the arena's good, then there doesn't have to be a person experiencing it. Ideally, we want to be both, right? We want to be both the agent having a great time in the arena, and we want the arena to be a fun journey, and we want like everyone to see us and be like, that's pretty cool, I want his life as well. Based on the agents having fun, the arena's pretty cool too. But then we have this internal voice, right? So when we're a little kid, we don't really have the full mental capacity to understand the agent and arena. And so, in theory, one idea is that we pick up like an internal voice that starts telling us, like I'm the first person character, and there's this voice like you should go on an adventure, or like the voice said let's climb the tree, and so then I go and I climb the tree, and I was like, oh, that was pretty cool, I climbed the tree, but I create myself this existence that is an agent arena relationship, and then I experience it for a while, and then we like kind of like always have this voice that kind of guides us where to go and what to do. This is one of the theories.
No, that doesn't
No,
land with me.
okay, all right, keep going.
When because like for me, when I'm doing the things that I want to do, there is no voice. I just want to do them and then I do them. Or I don't, or I get caught up in my head or whatever, right? Like a bunch of things can happen, but I want to do the thing and then there's this voice, especially for like these impulsive, like not
Right.
like yeah, like impulsive, fun, spontaneous in the moment things. Like often I just start to do it and then I feel like, oh, I have to justify why I'm doing this. So like, here's a million excuses for, like, oh, these are the reasons. Like, I'll start quoting Vervaeke on like why fun is so important to have, and like justify. But like those are like ad hoc justifications. Like I want to have the fun, and then I go to
Right.
have the fun, and then
So one
but
possibility is this like the
and get
voice that you've picked up then like is trying to curtail your fun and make sure it fits in socially with the social world
yeah,
that we live in.
yeah, and so like I think there's like when people realize that, I know like a lot of people have like judgments to that voice, but like that voice is there and it's important and it's there to protect you. But it's there to protect you. It's not there to tell you what to do. Like
Right.
it's not your boss.
Right.
It's
But
just
of
like
course what
it's
happens is we become teenagers, and at some point we get like squeezed in a little bit too hard by the voice in our head, and we're like, well, this is terrible. I have a teenager with terrible mental health because my voice has just been like
yeah,
telling me all the wrong things that I'm doing constantly because it's trying to
yeah,
stop me, but I'm like trapped here. And then I need to
yeah.
rebel against my internal voice and be like, screw this, I'm going to do what I like.
Yeah, and then you do weird shit because you're dealing with
Because
your internal stuff. And like honestly, like at least 9 times out of 10, that if that voice is being shitty to you, it's because you're here, someone is being shitty to you. And that like they're training that voice so that you be shitty to yourself.
well, I don't know if it always has to be the case. It could be that this is a big question mark, right? It could be that one day, like here I am trying to make meaning out of my life, and one day I go along and I say something to my friend, and they're like, "That's offensive. I don't like that." And so I'm like, "Oh, better like not say that." You know, better
Yeah,
like let's put a wall up in my psyche. I'm gonna like implement an internal voice that'll tell me let's not do that. Not like consciously, overtly, I'm gonna put the voice in, but I just kind of like my subconscious starts the like, "Oh, don't say that," sort of voice. And then the next day I say something else to someone else, and they say like, "I didn't like that." We put it there, and they're just kind
yeah,
of like being themselves. But I experienced like all like several of these walls, and so now my box is getting smaller and smaller. No one
yeah,
person meant to like make me feel trapped, but kind of because I
yeah.
took
It's a
on a social relational
combination.
identity, I started building myself into this little trap.
Yeah, yeah. There's a
So it
culmination.
doesn't have to be everyone was shitty. It can be just everyone was just like pushing back a little bit, and then I felt trapped and didn't have enough space.
Okay, all right, okay. I'll
Maybe,
take that.
maybe it's not an
I'll
evil
take
world
that.
that set out
That's
to
a
like
nice.
crush me, and maybe it was an accident, but I felt crushed anyway.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. It's like the death by a thousand cuts sort of
Right,
situation.
kind of, yeah. But
Yeah.
like now it's my job to work out what to do about it. Here I am trapped in a box, and I'm like I feel like every action I do is terrible, and so I'm gonna be depressed and lie in bed all day.
Yeah.
And like, why do I spend
Yeah.
12 hours a day on the internet lying in bed? It's because every action feels terrible. Like,
Yeah. They say the opposite of depression is expression.
mm, right.
And so I do think like that does move that does, like I know for me like the depression and is very much related to my ability to express myself
Mm,
and like how if I'm restricting my like how much do I have to like the more I have to like restrict or like essentially like depress myself of like push myself down so that I'm not expressing the worse my depression gets, which like on one hand is like insightful, on the other hand is like the more I depress the more depressed I get. So
I
um
buy it. Did you see the? There was something exciting recently. Someone proposed that anxiety and depression shouldn't be two different conditions because they occur together so often that like maybe anxiety depression is one thing, but we've like accidentally classified it wrong. I was like really excited, like, oh, what if the classic DSM was wrong again?
what if the DSM is wrong? Like
But
that
like
is
this is a big way in which the DSM could be wrong.
yeah, that's it's big deal to people that don't use the DSM. Everyone that uses the DSM is not what if the DSM is wrong.
It's like, well, yeah, obviously the DSM was put together by a bunch of people compiling statistics and trying to like reason about
Oh
the internal shape
man.
of minds. But
Yeah, dude, the DSM has like like I don't even like I'm not qualified enough to sort of like shit on it, but all the
well,
arguments are like
the DSM was also a paradigm that was designed to try and cope with confusion and social strangeness, like schizotypal or autistic or like ADHD style or anxiety depression style. Like here's a bunch of clusters of different things that go wrong with the brain that are different to the other things that go wrong with the brain. Like OCD is very different to
yeah,
ADHD. Like the things that kind of go wrong that take a normal social box that
yeah,
doesn't really exist of a person and like pull them to the left or pull them to the right. Or like pull them in some direction that makes it
yeah.
difficult for the rest of us to coexist with them.
Yeah, it is. I do like it. I think it is a really good paradigm. But I think when people start to get like, oh, maybe it's wrong, it's like you're not really thinking about it in the way that it's helpful.
Mm.
Because it's not really about right or wrong. It's about like here are ways of thinking about it and
Mm.
communicating and classifying and dealing with insurance and mostly dealing with insurance. So it's not really about right or wrong, but like it is like there is the whole debate. Like you can have a discussion around how to improve it and where it should be better and stuff, but it's not like science, like how we think of science like physics or chemistry.
Well, even
It's much
physics
more
and
like
chemistry isn't the scientific method anymore. That's like knowledge that we've accrued, like based on like you can do redo physics experiments and get the same result. Um,
yeah.
the DSM is a
Yeah, you
little
do the
bit
same
more
physics
fuzzy.
experiment, you're going to get the same results. You do the same psychological experiment, you're going to get statistically likely to have the same result if you do it in the same way with the same population with
Right, right. But
like
importantly, you also have to be the same. Like the experiment
yeah
has to be the same. In physics, like anyone who drops a ball will find that the ball falls at gravity, depending on if
yeah
they suck at
yeah
measurement or
like
whatever.
doesn't not like you know virtually doesn't matter where you are on the planet, like it's
Mm.
gonna fall approximately the same speed, but
Gotta,
yeah.
gotta let the go. I go about everywhere on the planet. Gravity is different. Yep, cool.
It is different places on the planet, you know. That's the higher you are, the less gravity there is,
I like.
and lower.
Recently, someone was like, if we cut the American military budget by 1%, we could build a giant obsidian sphere. And then like there's this like meme with this picture of the giant obsidian sphere like in San Francisco or something, right?
Yeah,
And what they don't realize is if you have a giant heavy object and you sit it in the water will start to curve around it depending on if it's heavy enough. If it's big enough and if it's heavy enough, the other gravitational object will start to like pull the water towards it.
oh, is that true?
Yeah, super cool. If it's heavy enough,
I didn't know that. I didn't know that like
you
I
can
didn't
see
know
it,
that like
right?
that would work for an obsidian ball. Like I know with planets and stuff like tides and moons, but I didn't know like
I
on Earth.
am. Let's be honest. I'm not certain about obsidian, but I know if you got the moon and you put it next to Earth, that the
Yeah,
water.
the moon I know because
But
it's like
the
that
moon's
magnet.
not particularly all that heavy. It's like a floating space rock.
Well, okay, weight doesn't really
No, as in like density wise, right?
like how much does the Earth weigh? Like that's the weird.
But like density of the thing, like one thing you need is density because you need that the water
It's
is
mass.
drawn to the
It's
mass. Yeah.
mass divided by like distance
Right.
or something. I
Right.
think that's it. I think it's just mass divided by
But
distance.
you can
Like
like
the more dense, like you can have it closer. Or like the
right,
less distance it's farther away.
right. I don't know how heavy you would need the thing to be. But I'm pretty sure if the giant ball of rock of like obsidian, like a heavy metal, one of the metal things,
Well,
obsidian.
obsidian's
Sorry,
yeah, obsidian's rock.
metal or like if it was large enough and heavy enough, you would just start like having a water attraction phenomena. Which I really love being able to look at the natural
I
forces
don't
of
know.
nature.
I'm a little skeptical on that, but maybe because like it would have to counterbalance the rest of the Earth, right? Like, because like the Earth itself is already so massive. So you like if
Well,
you had a black hole, then yeah, but
no, it
like,
would only have to counterbalance the nearby Earth.
huh?
It would only have to counterbalance like the mass of Earth nearby. Like there's water on the other side of the Earth
Yeah,
that is like not going to be bothered by the whole
yeah,
expanse.
but water itself is dense, so you're like also competing the water with the the water with the thing that you're doing.
Mm.
I yeah, I don't know. Maybe I
I
don't
feel
know.
like I want to ask a physicist just how dense do you need the thing to be in order to shut.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm so one thing I really love is studying the natural laws or like the not quite studying the natural laws, but studying the natural phenomena. So I have here, this is a magnetic ring. These rings, right? They are
Okay.
like kind of cool, and like when I was a little kid, magnets are cool. You kind of play with them and then you put them down. The cool thing about a magnetic ring is you can put it on your finger and you can continue to wear it for like days, and you can like just kind of feel the magnetic force
Oh,
that
that's
is
cool.
not visible, right? You can't see the magnetic force, but you can kind of like get to know it differently because you can experience it over and over a long period of time.
That's actually really cool.
So
Okay, now I want one of
you
those.
could also like, I mean, you could just buy a magnetic ring on eBay. They have them for like magic tricks because whatever. And then you can also feel like which things are magnetic, and also if you put it near a microwave, it like and the microwave is on, it like buzzes because the microwave is sending out electromagnetic, not microwave waves because it's got a nice box, but the engine you can put it on like near a laptop
Magnetron.
charger
Oh, the magnetron.
and you can say sort of like feel, but you can feel the force that we cannot see. Like obviously, if something falls with
That's
gravity, we can see it, but you can't see magnets so well.
well, you can feel gravity all the time because you just move your arms and you
Right,
feel,
right. You can feel it.
and you can like feel it stronger if you added weights to your hands. Then you
Right,
feel it beat down more.
right.
But we're always lifting things, like so it's like we're used to it. But yeah, the electromagnetic stuff we don't really engage with.
Right. Well,
That's so cool.
so I'm also interested in like the same goes for like hot and cold, right? We have we can feel hot and cold, like even
Yeah.
from a distance we can feel induction, which doesn't seem like much, except that we have a magical power to like sense heat from a distance.
Well, technically we're sensing the transfer of heat, but yeah, like it's still the same. Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean that is so cool. Like when you start to think of these senses that we have as magical powers,
Right.
and like we're all like wizards or like magical creatures where we're in tune with our environment and we can sense gravitational waves and like how fast molecules are moving,
Mm.
which is like essentially heat.
Oh, as in like how fast they're buzzing, like vibrating.
Yeah, like how fast are the molecules vibrating? Like you can literally, like, yeah, whatever. I know asterisks here, but you can literally feel that.
Hmm. So I want to add another one to the list, which is kind of this is where we cross the this is why we're doing psychotech, right? So Reiki.
Reiki, yes.
Reiki, right? So I had a friend show me some Reiki thingies, and Reiki thingies are like they're very subtle. They are it seems like a force that is more subtle than the obvious physics laws, right? Which is kind of cool. Um, like to demonstrate how subtle this is, and I read a couple of Reiki books a while ago. If you rub your hands together like this, right? Go like this. They're like hand rubbing together. Okay, now stop. Can you feel the like tingliness on your hands?
Yeah, I feel the
That's
vibration.
that's kind of like the volume that you can expect on like Reiki like sensations. It's kind of like subtle
Oh,
and tingly. That's what you can expect. So when you're trying to like feel like is this weird
I
Reiki
feel this.
practitioner actually doing anything, it's like that level of tingliness that you should be like trying to notice.
I feel this sometimes, like in the air and stuff.
Tingliness.
Yeah,
So I
it's
mean,
like not. Uh-huh.
this is the exciting thing. Like this is what so you know in my history, like I've just spent 5 minutes being a scientist and talking about magnets and gravity, right? And
Sure.
those things made sense, and like Reiki never made sense until eventually I worked out that Reiki was actually talking about a very like very subtle thing, something that's not as obvious to detect as like I can just see it. Um, and the proposal is, well, I would say what happened to me is I couldn't feel many of these subtle phenomena, and so I just declared they didn't exist, and anyone who believed in them was definitely
Yeah.
stupid. And then, like, I started meditating, and I got a bunch older, and then I could start feeling these weird, vague subtleties. And I was like, well, obviously these things are here because I can feel them now. But it was a change in my ability to sense, like my sensitivity to these things that made it abundantly clear that these things do exist, which is super
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah. I do think like this comes down to these things come down to do you experience them or not?
Right.
Um,
And
I
like
think like
seeing auras or something.
sorry?
Seeing auras.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I'm only like I'm recently starting to get more sensitive to like auras and stuff. So I'm like sometimes get glimpses of them.
Mm.
But even like in general, like with it, like I've been doing tarot a lot
Ooh.
since yeah, like since our adventures in tarot. I've been doing it like all the time.
All right. Tell me more about tarot.
Tarot is amazing. Tarot is amazing. I love it. It's I bring it to parties. So because like I used to get bored at parties all the time. And now I never get bored at parties because I just do tarot if I get bored. So it is great. It is great party magic for sure.
Okay.
Um,
Do you have a tarot deck here in reach or not?
yeah.
Oh yeah. Gotta grab the tarot deck.
So I use this one.
Yep.
Ta-da.
Tarot.
It the Wyatt Rider deck, I believe it's called.
Right away.
Rider Waite.
Wait. Yeah. What?
Yeah.
Right away. In the 50 years ago ish times or earlier, there was a bunch of, or I think it was even longer, maybe 100 years ago. There's a bunch of people who argued about what should be in the tarot deck and eventually standardized into this particular deck. So nearly all tarot decks are this deck. And the
Yeah.
pictures are usually standardized. There are obviously variations, but yep, that's the classic
Yeah.
tarot deck.
So I call that classics tarot deck, and there are people that probably don't like that description, but in general, I think
Tarot
this
deck.
is sort of who don't know what tarot is, think of tarot.
You want to
And so
explain we're gonna put tarot into the category of a psychotechnology, right?
yeah,
What
yeah.
what is how is tarot a
Like a
psychotechnology?
psychotechnological artifact is the
Okay.
deck. Yeah.
Do you wanna can you break that down? What the heck is Daniel going on about? What is tarot?
So
Or like why is tarot a psychotech?
yeah, why is tarot psychotech? So there's a lot of perspectives and a lot of different ways of thinking and seeing tarot and stuff. I'm just going to share the way I think about it and the way I engage with it, because I obviously I can't cover everything, and I'm not an expert, so it wouldn't make sense for me to do it. So it's just like sort of personal lived experience. I use it like as like a like a stimulation or like a seed. So people come in and I'll be like, okay, like pick a topic, or what's the thing that you're after? What's the thing that's interesting? So the first thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to like find where is their mind? Like what are people like deep thinking about and like want? And then when I draw the cards say things, right? So the cards have pictures and stuff, and so you can do it that way. Some people prefer to look at the cards and see what they feel from it, or what's happening on the cards. And then, but like mostly I have this website that I use where it just explains what the card is. And it's like a very like non-threatening way of saying things that are kind of objectively threatening. So like people will say like love, oh, I'm after love, and then the card will say, do you sacrifice for people? Like are you actually like sacrificing and like doing the thing
Are you
that's
willing to do what it takes to get the love? Right.
yeah.
And maybe
And so,
they want love, but they're not actually going out and dating. They're kind of lazy about it or something.
yeah, or there's like a crossroads, like you're entering. Like I actually did one where the guy, I should probably use real examples. So I did one where the guy was interested in this like romance, and then it started off saying there's like crossroads and the energies are sort of in conflict,
Mm-hmm.
or they're pointing at each other. And so when we talked about that, it wound up being like he has like different motivations, and then when he gets to the relationship, they sort of hit each other, and then he gets indecisive, or he's unable to make decisions, and then he's like in this relationship, and the relationship just goes however it goes. And then it's interesting because then the next card was like navigation, and I'm like, okay, so you're like there's a navigator here, and we talk about that. And like normally, if I'm talking with someone in a relationship, I'm like, oh, are you navigating your relationship? Like that could very easily become across. Like if I'm saying that to someone, like that can very easily become across as like aggressive or judgmental or whatever. Like they project all the projections that they have, they can like start to project that on me. But because I have the cards, this is just like, these are random cards, right? Like nobody, even the people I do this, they don't believe in it, right? So it's just random cards that are saying random things. Like, you can't really, it's like fighting a Rorschach, right? Like you obviously know that it's not the Rorschach, it's you. Like when there's something there that's vague and you project on, like when you project on it, you get to see what it is that you project on, or what it is that how you interact with. So it feels like very safe for me to have like an intimate conversation with somebody in an area where there might be a lot of like minefields, or like emotional minefields,
Of course, because
because
if they care too much about a thing, it's surrounded by
right,
like,
I can just be like, I'm not saying anything. These are the cards. Right. And it has happened where it's like, I'm like, oh, I think, like this is just me saying it, but I think maybe you're like kind of like trying to be avoidant here, and you're like not taking responsibility and growing up, and it's like, this. And then the last card we got was pretty much that. So I just read it, and I'm like, boom, we're done. right? Like I'm not gonna sit here and take your abuse or anything because like I'm not the one saying it, it's the card saying it, and you know it to be true. So
Mm.
it leaves me very like very clean hands, which I love.
As opposed to like having to yourself declare that this person is avoidant of relationship or whatever. And then,
Yeah. Yeah, because otherwise it's just me like looking for faults in people, right?
mm,
And nobody wants that. Like I no, we don't want like I don't want that relationship with them, and then they don't want that relationship with me. And then they have to like, you know, we're also in social gatherings, so there's a lot of other factors going on. And maybe they're trying to navigate or worry about perceptions or things like that. And so when for me like to step out of it and to be same side with them, and now these cards are happening, it just lets like it frees us up to like exist within the collective unconscious or
mm.
whatever.
Right. The proposal is the universe follows patterns, and we are instead of the cause of these patterns, we are the subject to them. And so, if we can just notice them, maybe we can like try play different paths down the patterns.
Yeah, it to me it's a little even more like that would be, I think that's like a certain level of awareness you have people have to have where they have already aware of these patterns, and then we pick out the patterns and sort of become aware of this specific pattern. So for me, I use it more as like instigating, like, oh, this thing is saying that, how does that resonate with you? And then like as they're constructing the story and like constructing it with them in a positive way, or sharing what's resonating with me, or even like just talking about it, um like it just opens up, there's just so much, it becomes so spacious, the conversations.
Hmm.
And then when shit goes wrong, it's the card's fault, it's not my fault.
Noticing
Which is,
some like desire to dodge responsibility coming out of Daniel.
yeah, because I'm not taking responsibility for the other people's lives that they lived up until now. I can't do that. That's too much for me. So like they live their lives, they have their preconceptions, and I don't want to take responsibility for that. I'm here to be with people and to help them, or to listen to them, or to be with them, or to, you know, like it's a lot of it is just like being intimate with someone, which I really enjoy. And yeah, I don't want to take on other baggage. That's too much for me to hold. So let the universe take on the baggage, because it's the universe's fault anyway to begin with, right?
That it, yeah, that it perceives itself to have baggage is the universe's fault.
Yeah, if somebody's coming in with baggage, like I just meet someone for the first time and they have like they've lived a life that has like all these traumas that are sort of playing out there. I don't like, I usually don't want to be like, I don't want to be the person that traumatized them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they have like their friend was really mean to them or something, or their dad or whatever. And like you come in, like we were saying before, and sometimes you'll resonate, like just like my mannerisms or something will like trigger them, and then they start to see me in that light,
Mm.
like in that
You're the
way.
perpetrator.
Yeah, and then like that sort of pulls me into be playing that role. And I don't want to play the role of your dad, and like I don't want to play the role of your dad that you already had, right? Of like did all these things to you. I'm happy to play the role of the new dad who likes you, who loves you and believes in you. Like that one I don't mind playing, but taking this other like taking like playing the opposite of these relationships that didn't work out or that have been traumatizing, like I'm not, like I don't think that's a good idea.
So
And so
I would call this something like receiving a projection.
yeah, yeah, like some of them I don't, you know, a little bit here and there or whatever, like I get like that's sort of how people
You
relate,
remind
but
me of my sister, whatever, not a big deal.
yeah,
But you remind me of a toxic person. Like I don't like that one.
yeah, yeah, now you're treating me like that, like now you're treating me like that toxic person. Now we're in a toxic relationship and I'm like, I don't know what the hell has happened. I was just like trying to connect to this person that I met at a party.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah,
now, yeah,
I'm split on this. Like on the one hand, I don't want to remind people of their, the people they don't like in their lives. And on the other hand, like maybe I do. Maybe that's like a good thing. Let me explain though. Maybe
yeah,
it's good if I remind people of the person that absolutely frustrates them, but I'm actually a nice person, and so I can like undo the karma. So they're like expecting me to yell at them, and of course I don't yell because why would I yell? And so they're
Yeah,
like, "Huh, that's kind of relieving to have the mean person never do the mean thing." Like because I'm not gonna do the
yeah,
mean thing. It's like a
yeah,
lot of responsibility because I'm not perfect. I'm still a human. I'm gonna screw up from time to time. But
yeah,
like, what if I can hold all those projections and then like rewrite the scripts for them and like undo all that karma? That would be
yeah,
really cool. It's a lot of
yeah.
responsibility. I don't think I could pull it off all the time, but like maybe it is good to receive these and then to act different.
Yeah, so I do like I don't want to like discount that because like I do think that is like that is a thing I have done and
Well, obviously, if I don't feel like doing it today, I want to be able to turn that thing off as well. I want to
yeah,
be able to go to the supermarket, buy my food, go home without having to like bump into I'm the perpetrator of everyone else's life, and therefore they're gonna hate me, and then I have to like
yeah,
do the graceful walk through the valley of hell in order to re- create heaven on earth and blah blah blah. I don't want to have to do that all the time.
yeah. Yeah, so there is that it gets tiring and stuff, and you do want to be able to move in and out of that. But also I find like I don't want to like dismiss this like it is a thing I've done and I have found value in doing it. It has made me a stronger person and more intuitive for these relationships. But I do find that 100% of the time they go wrong.
Oh, interesting.
Because
You've just had
I'm
bad time with projections.
it's not that it's bad, it always ends badly because
Yeah.
people get confused. Like both of you get confused because you're playing a person that you're not, and they think you're a person that you're not. And even if you have the meta awareness, both parties have the meta awareness of that, like you don't. Like you like your meditation is meditating on a toxic relationship. So it's like I'm not saying that you like nobody should ever do it. Like I do think different people, different times, different situations. Um, and like it was a good transitionary, like a good
Mm.
developmental stage for me. But like I don't want to do that anymore because also I want to be me, right? Like I need to flesh me out. I can't just be playing all these other characters.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
And
also to like create a side idea from this idea. Um, we have these pathologies, right? We have like narcissism, we have um, like borderline personality, we have uh, all sorts of like uh, conditions that we pathologize. And then in the mild form, narcissism is just like self worth, right? You could just like, I am valuable, but if I'm too extreme about that, I'm like, crush other people because I'm too important.
I think it's confusing the self with the self image. I think is narcissism. So
Uh,
it's when you love the image of yourself more than your actual self. It's sort of how they.
ooh,
It's sort
ooh.
of like the tagline.
Um, Not sure about that. That gets more complicated. Let me go where I was going, and then we'll come back.
Sure.
Um, so we have these pathologies, and then the mild form, like a pathology like OCD, right? The like mild form of that is just wanting to do things a certain way and wanting things to get done right, right? That's the like in the mild form, they're really valuable or really helpful, even like uh
The conscientiousness or
yeah, like mild conscientiousness, like I want to get it right, I want to do it. This is how we do it. Let's do it like this. And in the extreme form, it's unhealthy, it's pathological, it's frustrating to deal with, it's like stuck in like being very rigid in my ways, it's like not helpful. But so if you are psychologically healthy, you might be able you might be able to expand from the like neutral, not OCD at all, into the places where you can be a little bit OCD, a little bit narcissist, and you can do it in healthy ways, and that's very powerful. Like if you can demonstrate to people how to have the like strong self-image without destroying other people, that could be really
yeah,
powerful.
yeah, I agree. I do find like I do find like for me, I do like like when there was a time where I really like I didn't know how to do self-image. And
Mm,
so like I started acting narcissistic, and I'm seeing that, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? And like the more I was able to understand self-image and craft it, the less I'm like, oh, I don't have like this is self-image is a thing that exists in the world. And like
mm,
I'm not like I'm not my image, I'm something else. And also crafting and self-image is an important thing. um yeah, and it does like yeah I do agree with that, like that does resonate with me when I'm able to
right.
separate it. I'm still not good at it, but
Ah,
I see it enough that I don't confuse it with myself, which is like, huge.
so part of my theories in this area is that we have things like the DSM, right? It's the book of pathology. These are the ways that you can be pathological that are like unhealthy, right? That's what we're trying to diagnose,
Yeah, that's
right?
accurate.
But then, what if we treat that as a guidebook and we like start trying to move towards the pathological states and like stabilize them and like bring them into how they're healthier? Wouldn't that make it interesting developmental psychology? If
Okay. Yeah. Um,
now I wouldn't, I'm not directly advising someone does
yeah.
this, but like there's
Yeah, no, but
potential
you're
there.
using this as like an exercise. Like, yeah, like it's like in like physical therapy. So if your muscle is like
Right,
clenched, sometimes what they'll do is they clench it more.
right, and then
Um,
you can
and
release.
yeah, and then you can release. So like it gives you more control over it. And so then as like a psychological technique to to like try to release that tension is to do it more, and
Right,
then
go for the extreme and then like walk it back and balance it.
yeah.
Obviously, I don't want to hurt anyone in the process or like offend people, but you know,
Oh, that's hilarious.
like what if, it's
That's
also
for
like
sure.
what is my capacity to deal with psychotic people, right? Are they gonna like really piss me off and frustrate me? What is my capacity to deal with autistic people, OCD people? Are they gonna piss me off and frustrate me? Or can I take myself there on my own and then completely understand what they're going through and maybe support them better because I get what they're going through in the world that just isn't rigid enough or isn't
Yeah,
distracting enough, like ADHD distracting enough.
yeah,
If I know what it's like to live in a distracting world and like keep doing what I've been trying to do in the world, then maybe I can help all the ADHD
yeah,
people who haven't been able to like work it out for themselves because the world is damn like, distracting.
yeah. I have done things like that where they do where you put on like dirty goggles so you know what it's like to not have good vision,
Oh,
which is like
cool.
not a thing I really like. I could just take off my glasses to get that, but or to like be in a wheelchair
A couple
for a
hours.
couple hours. I mean, I was only there a couple hours, but like obviously the longer you do it, the better experience you get.
Right, I can
Um,
imagine even just like 2 hours in a wheelchair or like 5 hours, right? Within a 5 hour window, most people need to go to the bathroom.
5 hours is a lot, yeah.
So to like,
I've done like a couple hours. It's actually kind of fun.
even like,
Whenever I go to
it's fun for a
hospitals,
little bit, but then like you have to get around, you have to like figure out how to get to the bathroom, right? You have to go up a ramp, you have to turn left, you have to like, you need to
yeah,
figure out how to eat food, which means you need to get to the kitchen, you have to like go around things
yeah.
like,
I was in a wheelchair for like a day. For like, we went to a museum and I had like just twisted my ankles. I couldn't walk,
uh,
and so I was in a wheelchair for like, um, yeah. It definitely gives a new perspective,
hmm.
for sure. Also, like the stroller, because I push around a stroller a lot now. So like, I find myself randomly be like hanging out with people in wheelchairs because we navigate the world the same, right?
With wheels, yeah.
Yeah.
You need flat surfaces, no staircases,
Yeah, we gotta find the
solo
like when
ramps,
I'm in the subway, I gotta find the
elevators.
elevators. Because I can't use the stairs. But like I sort of can't, like that's the thing, is like when push comes to shove, I can just use the stairs. So it's not the same experience, but it is interesting, like being it, because it is like I do get to enter that world to a certain extent
Hmm.
for a certain period of time. Yeah, and like I am like the other day I was thinking like we went downtown and I was like I was like kind of like following this guy in a wheelchair for like 20 minutes trying to like get out of the subway because you know, we both got off at the same station and then we both went in the same elevator and then we're both trying to leave the station. So we're like kind of like hanging out, like doing this adventure together, I guess.
Hmm. Super
Which is
interesting.
yeah.
I guess
But
like,
it's not the same. Like I
of
don't want to
course,
compare that.
but once you've experienced the world where you can only travel by wheel, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, now I need to. Now I
There's
can
some
see it
imperfect.
for everyone else who is stuck like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and appreciate it, right? Like, cause like I didn't really appreciate the handicap stuff before and the wheelchair accessibility. And now I appreciate that our whole society is wheelchair accessible. And I know it's not 100%, but like it's like very high. Like when I go places, I expect it to be wheelchair accessible.
Hmm.
And
I,
it usually
I see most things, or like particularly things we're building today, have a wheelchair accessibility to them.
yeah. I mean, it's not 100%. Like it does happen sometimes where I'm like, oh, this isn't wheelchair accessible. Like I need to figure this out.
Hmm.
But for the most part, it is.
Hmm. So interesting.
Yeah. Interesting thing about our culture. Oh, are we done? Okay.
I don't know. We could be
I don't
done.
know.
Been
Well,
like,
we were supposed to talk about your adventures through America.
we'll
We
get to
didn't
it
do
next
that at
time.
all.
Right. So teaser for next episode. Right. Elliot just
Okay.
spent 2.5 months traveling around America. Didn't have
Yeah.
much time to record Psychotechnologies in that time. Had a lot of culture shock. I had a lot of culture shock meeting America and being like, what was that? Like, why is it like this? And I think that would be really interesting to talk about. So
Yeah.
we'll save
I'd
that.
love to hear it. Yeah.
Save that for next time.
Okay. Tune in next time for Psycho
Psychotechnologies live.